The crowd inside the grand auditorium buzzed with anticipation. The lights dimmed, and the familiar British voice of Simon Cowell could be heard joking with his fellow judges. It was another evening filled with dreams, talent, and heartbreak, the kind of night where the unexpected often happened. The camera panned across the audience, capturing faces glowing with excitement. Then, a soft announcement echoed, "Next contestant, please welcome Daniel and Lily." Two figures walked onto the stage, a young man in his early 20s and a little girl, perhaps around 10. Daniel's jeans were faded, his shirt slightly wrinkled, and his hands trembled as he held a worn-out guitar. Lily, wearing a simple yellow dress, held his hand tightly. Her brown hair was neatly tied in a ponytail, and her eyes scanned the vast crowd nervously. Simon leaned forward. "Hello there. What's your name?" he asked, his voice gentle but curious. "I'm Daniel," the young man replied. "And this is my little sister, Lily." "Lovely to meet you both," Simon said. "So, tell us a little bit about yourselves. What are you going to do tonight?" Daniel took a shaky breath. "We're going to sing. It's a song we wrote together. It's called, 'You Are My Home.'" The audience gave a small round of applause. But Simon noticed the nervousness in Daniel's voice. "Is this your first time performing in front of such a big crowd?" he asked. Daniel nodded. "Yes. We used to perform in the streets, just for spare change. But Lily wanted us to try this. She said Mom would be proud." That sentence hit the room like a wave. The audience quieted. Even the judges exchanged sympathetic glances. Simon tilted his head slightly. "Where's your mom now?" Daniel hesitated, then said softly, "She passed away last year. This song is for her." A collective sigh moved through the crowd. The stage lights dimmed further, leaving just a soft spotlight over the siblings. Daniel adjusted his guitar strap and knelt down beside Lily. "Ready?" he whispered. She nodded, clutching the microphone with both hands. The first notes of the guitar were gentle and emotional, a melody that felt raw and pure. Daniel's fingers, though slightly shaky, found their rhythm quickly. Then Lily began to sing, a soft, angelic voice that immediately silenced the entire theater. Her tone was fragile but filled with emotion. Every note carried the weight of their story, their love, and their loss. When Daniel joined in, his deep, raspy voice blended perfectly with hers. The harmony was unplanned yet perfect. The lyrics spoke of nights spent under the same roof, sharing laughter, and promising never to forget where they came from. "You are my home when the world feels cold. You are the light when my heart grows old." As they sang, the big screen behind them lit up with subtle visuals, a cozy living room, a mother tucking her children into bed, and a candle glowing in the dark. The audience began to tear up. Even Simon, known for his tough demeanor, leaned back in his chair, watching intently. Halfway through the song, Daniel's voice cracked. He stopped for a second, overwhelmed. Lily looked up at him and gently squeezed his hand. "It's okay," she whispered, barely audible to anyone but him. Then she took over, singing the next line flawlessly. Her courage reignited him, and he joined her again. The final verse rose with power and emotion. "When the world turns gray and I lose my way, your love will guide me home someday." When the last note ended, there was silence, a heavy, emotional silence that spoke louder than applause. Then, suddenly, the audience erupted, cheering and clapping. People stood up, wiping away tears. One of the judges, Heidi, was visibly crying. Sofia Vergara covered her mouth, unable to speak. Simon didn't move for a few seconds. His eyes were glistening. Then he leaned forward, speaking softly into the microphone. "I've heard thousands of auditions," he said slowly, "but something about that performance, it felt real. It felt honest. You didn't just sing a song, you told your story. Daniel and Lily smiled nervously, tears welling up in their eyes. I think your mom would be incredibly proud, said Howie Mandel from the other end of the panel. That was beautiful beyond words. The audience began chanting, "Golden buzzer. Golden buzzer." The siblings looked around, confused and emotional. Simon turned to his fellow judges. What do you think? He asked. Heidi spoke first. They deserve it. That was pure heart. Simon looked at the golden buzzer in front of him. He hesitated for a moment, then looked back at Daniel and Lily. You know, he said with a small smile, I started this show to find talent, but sometimes, I think it's more about finding people who remind us what music really means. Then, without another word, he pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded from the ceiling. Lily gasped and covered her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. Daniel dropped his guitar and hugged her tightly as the golden rain fell around them. The crowd went wild, cheering and crying at the same time. Simon stood up and clapped, something he rarely did. Tears streamed down Daniel's face. He looked up at the judges' panel and mouthed, "Thank you." Lily, still in his arms, whispered, "We did it, Danny. For Mom." Later, backstage, the siblings were interviewed. The reporter asked how they felt. Daniel smiled shakily. It doesn't feel real. We didn't come here expecting this. We just wanted to share a piece of our mom's memory with the world. Lily added softly, I think she heard us. The moment quickly became one of the most viral clips in the show's history. Within hours, the performance trended across social media. Millions watched and commented, calling it the most emotional golden buzzer ever. Fans shared stories of their own loved ones, saying Daniel and Lily's song reminded them of family, loss, and love. In the following weeks, the siblings appeared on talk shows, their bond captivating audiences everywhere. They revealed that their mother used to be a music teacher who taught them to sing together before she fell ill. She used to say, Daniel recalled, music is love you can hear. We just tried to keep that love alive. During the live finals, Daniel and Lily returned to the stage with a new song, this time, stronger, more confident, but still humble. Simon introduced them personally, saying, every now and then, a moment reminds us why this show exists. For me, that moment was when these two sang together for their mother. Their new song, Carry You With Me, was just as heartfelt. It told the story of carrying someone's spirit even when they're gone. As they sang, a photo of their mother appeared briefly on the screen behind them, surrounded by light. The entire auditorium fell silent again, and by the end, there wasn't a dry eye in sight. They didn't win the competition, but in truth, they didn't need to. Record labels reached out. Charities invited them to perform. They released their debut single, and it topped digital charts within days. Their music video featured clips from their journey, busking in the streets, the audition stage, the golden confetti, and a closing shot of them visiting their mother's grave, leaving a small golden star on it. Months later, Simon Cowell mentioned their audition in an interview. That's one of those moments I'll never forget, he said. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. You could feel the love between them, and that's what music is supposed to do, connect hearts. Daniel and Lily continued performing, using their platform to raise funds for children who had lost parents. They often told their audiences, our mother gave us music, and music gave us back to the world. Years later, they performed on the same show as guest artists. This time, they weren't nervous. They stood tall under the lights that once terrified them. When Simon saw them again, he smiled proudly. You two proved that music can heal, he told them. I'm glad I pressed that button. As they sang their final song of the night, a simple acoustic version of You Are My Home, the audience joined in softly. The golden lights shimmered once again, just like that first magical moment. And somewhere, perhaps unseen, their mother's love echoed through every note, every lyric, and every tear that fell that night. The Golden Buzzer wasn't just an award, it was a reminder that sometimes, the purest talent comes from the deepest love.